in one particular TypeScript file, we might have any number of classes. So the classes might be any normal classes and which are related classes. Related classes are nothing but so which are there in a parent to child relationship. Okay, so we might be having any number of classes here. So we can say, so we have one class called parent. Okay, we have one class called parent. So parent to child relationship also I'm taking here in this class. Okay, so and one more thing, just remove this one. I'm just taking a class. Okay, just for namesake, a class I'm taking. I have one more class, so that class is B class. Okay, and we might be having any number of classes. So you can take any number of classes in one single TypeScript file. Okay, so these are all classes. Okay, so when we are discussing about that variables, we know that so there should be some scope. So the scope is like a black scope, function scope, global scope, like that. Okay, so any class is containing so properties, like properties and methods. Suppose I can say I'm having some class property, some value a. Okay, small a, or else I will have one property called p. I'm going to define with a type number. That number is like 10 I'm going to take. Okay, and also I'm taking one more property, that is q. Okay, q is also a number type I'm taking. So whatever you want to take, you can take any type, number type, so or else string type, or else enum type, whatever you want to take, you can take. Okay, so and also we might be having methods of that particular class. Okay, so get data method we have, which is get a data, a class data. So or else we can say get data. So get data also you can put any type of data. Suppose you can return a type of data, that is number type or else string type, whatever you want to put, so that you can put. Okay, here I want to put some return statement. If I am specifying the return type, there should be one return statement inside a function of that particular class, but that return statement should be at last statement of that function. Okay, so no more statements are allowed after the return statement. Okay, like this we have here. We are discussing about the modifiers. So what are those? Access modifiers. Okay, with respect to the classes, I am discussing about the access modifiers. It's showing some errors. Yeah, access modifiers. Okay, so what access modifiers will tell actually means, so suppose if you are taking, okay, inheritance, it's simply removing. Okay, and right, so I'm taking like this, variables, basics. Okay, all right. Yeah, so public, private, protected. So these three are the basic modifiers in the TypeScript. So what does it mean actually? So which is related to accessibility of the properties. The properties of a particular class can be accessed from where in a particular TypeScript file. Okay, so these are the properties, like we can say properties and methods of a particular class. Okay, so how we are going to access that properties in a class B, and how we are going to access those properties in a class C. Okay, so these are not related components, these are not related classes. That's why how we are going to access and what are the scopes of these two properties, whatever we have used here now. So p and q are two numbers and get data is a method. This is a method and these are the properties. So these properties I am going to specify. So whether that should be accessed outside this class or not, whether that should be accessed in the child class or not, whether that should be accessed in the normal outside the class, that within the same program. So this is considered as a same program, right? So we might be having number of classes, but program should be same program. Here when it comes to the modifiers, so modifiers public by default it will be coming. Okay, so default, it is a default modifier. So if you are giving or not, irrespective of that, the default modifier will be coming. Okay, if you are providing, so where you are providing the modifiers, I will tell you the syntax. Suppose if you are taking the property, so whatever the property you have taken now, so number property is equal to some value you have taken. This is the syntax. Okay, before that you have to provide the access modifier. So access modifiers are predefined one only. So predefined one means so which are already there in the TypeScript. Okay, like this we have to provide access modifiers variable name and the type of variable and value of the variable. While defining your variable, while declaring your variable, you can put like this the access modifiers. Okay, so you can put like this the access modifiers. So in which actually the public is we have added before the property. So whatever the property we have taken here, okay, so whatever the property we have taken here, so in front of that I am using public. Okay, what if I'm not using that property? Okay, so nothing will happen. If you are not providing the property of public, by default there should be one public modifier will be added. So modifiers are nothing but the scope modification or accessibility modification. So which are all the scopes should be allowed and which are all scopes should not be allowed in the parent to child relationship kind of thing. So now suppose if it is a public, okay, if it is a public, I'm telling public, the public modifier property will be accessed within that class and it can be accessed. Suppose I can say it is a parent class. A is a parent and B is a child. Okay, so which can be accessed within the A class and within the B class, that might be a child class. Okay, within the C class as well. That means anything which defined with the public access modifier, that property can be accessed in a child class or in a normal class of the same program. Wherever in the program you can access this property. Okay, so let me tell you that example programmatically. I will show you that example. Okay, even if you are not providing, that should be same, right? Even if you are not providing also, that should be same. So that is, if you are not providing the public keyword also valid. Okay, now I am taking this. Okay, so what I'm going to do, just I'm simply putting one console log here, log. Okay, so p value I'm printing here. Okay, if I want to print that p, so this dot p I'm putting here, and also I want to put that q, so q also I'm putting. P and key q both are I'm putting. Okay, that means these properties are default. Default in the sense public. Public properties are accessed within the same class, and outside that class, the class is like from here to here. Outside that class means directly I am taking this here. But if you want to get that, so we have to put some data method here. So that method I'm taking. Void is also a type of return type. It won't return anything. Now I'm taking like this. Okay, so whereas if you take like this, it will be accepted. If you can observe, so there are no errors. Okay, if you can observe, so there are no errors for this. Just I'm giving this, formatting this document. Okay, right. So this is a method of a B class. This is a method of B class which can be accessed here, and the P and Q will be accessed inside the A class as well. That means in the normal class and the extended class also we can access the access modifier, which is by default that is a public. Okay, so now if I want to use that same in the C class is a normal class. So whenever if you want to take an instantiation, whatever all the properties, those properties are instance properties, not a static properties. If you are putting that static, so the static keyword we have discussed in the JavaScript, like with the help of class name, we are going to access those. Okay, now whenever it comes to the class, so in that class you can have constructor or you can have a method. Inside that I have to instantiate that method. So whatever the class I am going to take here, class A, for that particular class A, I am instantiating with an object is equal to new A. So because if I instantiate this one, so then only I can able to access with the reference of object. Okay, now so this is not required. A dot p I can use, sorry, A dot p I can use in the same manner. A dot q I can use. Okay, A is an object. A is an object of A class because it is a separate class. No, the class is outside the scope and wherever it should be. So that time, so you need an object creation. So whenever you want to call that method, whenever you want to call that property, then you need a object method. But here, so when it comes to the extended property, so it's a child class, no? So that's why that is not required, because by default, whenever a class is extending from one class to another class, parent class properties are invoked. So that's why there is no error. Okay. Now what we have done? So we have executed that. Okay. We have, so given that in a sequential manner. Now if I want to execute that one, how we are going to execute? Suppose if I want to call the get data of A, so then you can put like, so where something like A class, AC I'm taking, it's an object name because already we have used A, right? That's why A class instantiation I'm done here. Now I'm just putting one log here. Okay, no need of that logs, just simply I'm calling the method. So whatever the A class properties I have, AC class dot, that method is like get data method I'm taking. Okay, so this is a normal case. Now we can put one log here, log inside A class. Okay, just putting one message, that's all. Okay, so now I can put this message in B class as well and in C class as well. Okay, it is a B class extended from A, now inside a C class. C is a normal class. Okay, just for namesake I'm taking this one. Okay, now if I want to create an object, see there are no errors, that mean to say, so here these properties are accessed inside the A class property and inside the B class and also inside the C class. Okay, now so when we call this one, what will be happen? I'm calling with the A class object. Okay, now so I'm just simply executing this one. So to execute that one, I will just simply open that in a normal command prompt. Okay, here it will be modifiers.ts file we have taken, some cmd. Okay, now to execute that one, so tsc modifiers.ts file first we need to compile, and once it is compiled there are no errors, then it will give an empty line. Okay, thereafter so you will get JS file. So that JS file you can execute with modifiers.js, node space modifiers dot, inside A class we have called. Okay, the same thing, it can be accessed inside a B class also, right? So for that what I'm going to do, so here I'm going to create an object for, okay, so I'm just simply commenting this one. Second, what happened? Okay, I am commenting this one. Now I'm creating an object for B class, right? So B class, once if you create an object for B class, so automatically A class object will be created because A class is a parent class of B class. Okay, now I have created a B class. Now simply B dot get data method I'm calling. Sorry, B dot get data method I'm calling. So what is that? B dot what happened? It's automatically taking the B dot get data method I'm calling. Okay, now if you can see, that will be called inside a B class which is extended from the parent class. Okay, okay, inside B class extended from parent class, that will be executed, right? So what properties I am using? So whatever the A class properties I'm taking same as it is. Now if I want to call that in a C class also, okay, inside a C class I want to access, so then for this also, where C equal to new C, just creating an instance, that is object. Okay, C dot get data, just calling. I'm just commenting these two lines. Calling procedure is normal only, so nothing difficulty in this. Okay, execution order we should expect. Okay, see inside C class the properties are accessed. Okay, that means first case, whenever I'm taking properties of one class with no access specifiers will be accessed here. Okay, will be accessed in the same class. Same class in the sense here we are using no. So here inside a get data method that will be accessible within the same class. It will be accessible within the child class of that parent class will be accessible, and within another class also accessible. But whereas if you consider another class, that should be required object instantiation. So because with respect to object only we should call the properties. Okay, so not only this one, so whatever you want to call, so that should be called with respect to, I mean even for get data property, whatever the get data method also you have to access from here. Okay, get data, so you can access from here. So that, so if you are taking a is a property here, so then, so if you want to call that get data method, so then you can call it here from a dot get data. So that method is also calling from here. That means whenever I'm creating an object of other class, so that is a class, inside that C class I am accessing the a class property. Just now you can observe, so whenever I'm calling the C dot get data, so it will directly calling the C class object get data method. Inside that whatever we have, that will be accessed. Here get data is belongs to a class because we are accessing this one. Okay, so now if you can see, so that execution as well, Typescript file which will be compiled. Okay, now executed. Inside C class first will be called here, from where inside C class will be called. So whenever I'm creating an object, when I call that method with respect to C object, so here inside C class that will be called. After that, when, so after finishing this printing of two properties 10 and 20, so one more method is called, but there is no defined, so we have not defined that one. We will see that whatever the properties it will become, but here so undefined means it is not defined, that's why it's giving the undefined method. Okay, so nothing to worry, so that will be called actually. So a class related, so get data method we have called here. Okay, so now, so ignore about that, I will tell you what exactly that property will returns. Okay, so now, so inside a class, inside C class, that you could expect inside C class and inside A class, both are printed, right? Okay, inside A class, inside C class, because so when we call that inside C class and these two properties are executed, when we call this one, that time again it will go for the A class. Inside A class is also printing, inside A class property whatever this get data method, that is also printing. So which is accepting if there are no specific modifiers. If there are no specific modifiers, so that will take automatically by default. If you are providing the public, okay, for all, if you are providing the public for all, so here I'm providing for method also, you can provide the access modifiers like this only. Okay, see, you are getting any errors? So no, nothing. So even if you are providing public or if you are not providing, by default it will be taking the public. See, if you can take this again, if I'm executing this one, compiling, okay, executing inside C class, inside A class, that will be executed happily. That means when we are using the access modifier public, so which will be accessed within the same class and outside the class within the extended class, outside the class within the extended class, not only in the extended class, it will also available anywhere in the programs in outside classes also. Here class C is also separate class which is nowhere related to A, that will be accessible. So that is one case. Now another case is private. Okay, private property if I'm using, okay, same private property I'm using it here. Okay, same private property I'm using it for method also, we can use anything. See, if you are providing private for that particular variable, here itself you are getting an error. In the extended class also you won't get, in the other class also you won't get, because you are getting the errors. If you want to run this one directly, you can run, their compilation time only you will get an error. Okay, compilation time only you will get an error. Okay, see, so what are the errors and how, which type of errors you are going to get? Okay, see here, So get data is a private in type A, but not in type B. Okay. So whatever the errors you are getting, that is private related access specifiers, which are not accessible. So when we are taking the private property, which are not accessible outside the class, outside the class, within the class, it will be happily executing. Okay. So if you are not taking this, no, so entirely, if you can comment this one, okay, entirely, if you can comment this one, that will happily, so giving the output. So because here, this one also I'm giving commenting. Okay. What I'm going to do, so just I am uncommenting whatever the A class instantiation. Okay. A class instantiation. So what it's throwing error, expression expected, new some class name I should expect here. Okay. So get data. So this is also, yeah, so only you can access within a class A. Okay, that means even here also, whatever the scope you are specified from here to here till this part only, so the private property will be accessible. Okay, so which are not accessible outside that. That means after this, inside this, if you want to call, you can call that method. Okay, so like so get data property we have no, so get data, so by instantiating, like how we have instantiation, so done here no, so like that you can create and you can instantiate and you can call that. That means here also it won't be allowed, get data won't be allowed. Okay, that means private properties are belongs to only local. That means only within the class only it will be accessible. Okay, so now public properties, either it is a public or it is a default. If you are not providing public, that will be taking automatically default. Okay, if you are not providing public, that will automatically taking default. Default is like public only. So you are specifying the public. If you are not specifying the public, the scope should be same. Okay, the scope should be same like this. So we have another thing. Okay, right here we have seen the public access modifier and private access modifiers. Now coming to the, sorry, coming to the protected. Okay, instead of that protected, I'm taking the same for property Q, taking same for get data. See here, you will not get any errors within the same class and within the extended class. I mean, child class also you won't get any error, and within the same class also you won't get it. But where you will get an error, so that you will get in other classes, rather child classes are in the same class. In other classes you will get an error. That means the protected modifier will allow us to access the properties of a particular class within the same class. Okay, and within the derived class, that is child class, but not outside the class. Okay, like that. So I will give you a simple description here. Okay, so public or default. Okay, we can access anywhere in the program. Anywhere in the sense within the same class, or else within the derived class. That means child class, derived class, or we can say child class. Okay, derived class or child class we can say. So that is a public property. So when we are using the public, okay, so when we are using the public access modifier, or if you are not using, that will be taking default. So access anywhere, properties and methods, we can define props and methods, access anywhere in the programs. Anywhere in the sense within the same class, within the derived class, and outside the class also, outside the class. Okay, these are very important, keep that in your mind. Okay, if you are providing private, the props and methods whatever there in the particular class, that will be props and methods can access only within the same class, only within the same class. That's it. Okay, so but whereas protected, so props and methods properties and methods can be accessed within the same class, where it's defined, and within the derived class of that particular parent class, derived class or child class. So this exactly the properties of this public and private and protected. Okay, so like this we can get the modifiers accessibility so in a single class. So a single program might be having any number of classes, any number of child classes, any number of parent classes, any number of normal classes. That all classes should be having so one default access modifier, that is public. If you are not specifying, if you are specifying with protected, private and default, that will be public, that will be normal. Public or default is same. Public will be accessed within the same class, within the derived class, within the another class also. That might be any class. If it is a protected, within the same class and within the child class. So that not allowed outside the class. Okay. Now if it is a private, we can access only within the same class, not in extended class, not in any other class. Those